It's not just Mark Kaufman who is fascinated with possible life on Mars. As Joe Cassidy will explain how the excellence mission that Explore Mars is developing is trying to get us answers to the age-old question, got life? By sending small probes into the crust of Mars. Then we will have a break and 4 more talks. But now we start first with Janet Ivey.
Thank you so much. I know you guys are just getting back from lunch, but thank you for being here. In our next few moments together, I want to introduce you to my vision or pathway to an awe-inspired Mars. Now, when I speak of awe, I'm not just speaking of the wonder, amazement, luminous enchantment that discovery and really affords us. What I am talking about, awe for me is an acronym for art, wonder, and the experiential, where awe becomes the portal for education and engagement. You see, I believe when we create experience and use our art, wonder transpires. And I believe that awe needs to be an integral part of the science, technology, engineering, and math proposition, because awe helps us transcend those barriers that are often too high a benchmark for some to ascertain, or possibly even to understand science concepts that were seemingly intangible before. When awe enters the equation, there is scientific assimilation, because there's kinesthetic, bodies moving, voices singing, hands painting, team collaborating, learning. Now, Einstein said that one cannot but be in awe when one contemplates the mysteries of eternity, of life, of the marvelous structure of reality. It is enough if one tries merely to comprehend a little of this mystery each day. Never lose a holy curiosity. Now, Brian Greene, author of The Fabric of Our Cosmos, says that we begin life as little scientists, but most of us quickly lose our intrinsic scientific passion, and it's a profound loss. I sense the need to encourage awe in these quotes. Mars as a subject and destination is an effective STEAM tool because kids are natural-born explorers, and communicating the thrill of exploration is as good as it gets when educating our youth about what a future on Mars might look like. Now, we humans have always been driven to explore the unknown, discover new worlds, push the boundaries of our science and human limits, and then push further. The intangible desire to challenge the boundaries of what we know and where we have been has provided benefits always to where we are going. Through addressing the challenges related to human space exploration, we expand technology, create new industries, and help to foster collaboration with other nations. Curiosity and exploration are vital to the human spirit, and presenting the challenge of going deeper into space invites students today and the generation of tomorrow to journey beyond this planet. Now, what I want you to understand is that by nature, I'm an artist, a lover of music, drama, and dance. And by nurture, I have a head and a heart for science. I want to introduce you to the best and most holy of elementary teachers ever, Miss Ernestine Yarbrough. She was only in her 2nd year of teaching when I was in 5th grade, but she created awe-inspired moments. She encouraged and fostered a class of 10-year-olds' love of learning by allowing us to write stories using our vocabulary words and our science homework. And the only rule was that the vocabulary words had to be spelled correctly and the science had to be factual. And from there, any leap of fancy was ours to take. Now, from there, she encouraged my art, my music, my writing. She is the one that says, girls, science is for everybody, not just for the boys. I can't look at this lady without having the deepest of gratitude. Every Friday, she would come by our desk and she would whisper something into each of our ears that was meant for our ear and our ear alone. And she would threaten us with that beautiful booming voice of hers very greatly if we dared to tell anybody what she meant for us only. Now, on a Friday chilly night in October of 1978, she had a star party in the back of our elementary school. She made me fall in love with the solar system and the stars, and I believe that the germination of my life's mission happened in that very classroom, because she whispered to me on those Fridays, "What a great thinker you are. What a great artist you are. You could be a scientist or a writer, or maybe both." And I must tell you that as the catalyst for my awe, she allowed me to use all my right brain proclivities while encouraging my left brain to follow suit in concert with my right. She is the rubric by which I measure how I teach, how I deliver multimedia messages, and how I seek to encourage and inspire. She knew how to create awe, where science and art naturally overlapped. Now, Brian Greene also states in an article entitled "Put a Little Science in Your Life" that science is the greatest of all adventure stories, that we must embark on a cultural shift that places science in its rightful place alongside music, art, and literature as an indispensable part of what makes life worth living. And truly, this is how I propose we make Mars relevant and human exploration there possible, by creating awe-infused moments, conversations and forums that create awareness, increase engagement, and foster relationships. Now, for me, the best place to start that conversation is with the very young. Primarily, Janet's Planet serves the elementary school age population. I do so sometimes with middle school students and every so often with high school partnerships. And time again, I've seen how integrating art and science provides thought-provoking, awe-infused experiences, and that's why I believe science and art belong alongside each other, kind of inspiring and motivating the other to its highest. So when I talk about art, the first word in my version of awe, and the Smithsonian has done an incredible job with Collier's magazine. This is circa 1952 through 1954, and I'll introduce elementary school-age children to the works of Wernher von Braun and his Martian Chronicles. And they're enthralled because it's just as relevant today as it was 60 years ago. But here is where the real inspiration happens. It's when they start to see, I've clicked the wrong way. When they start to see the art of these wonderful artists, Chelsea Bonestell, Fred Frame, and Rolf Klepp. And then I challenge them, okay, this is what they thought 60 years ago. What do you envision for a 21st century manned mission to Mars? And what they come up with is just stellar. And sometimes I'll even ask them, let's write our science commercial, and let's make a really great science commercial for going to Mars. And probably the best dialogue for a Martian ad ever. This kid stands there and he goes, "Bored with your iPad? Bored with those video games? Come to Mars. There's always something here to discover." And it's like, I think you're right, my friend. So you're a great scientist. Now, here is the Janet's Planet Mars rover that my friend, a set designer, and I built in my garage. You'll notice that the arm right there looks strangely like something we might have found discarded at a batting range. The other two elements are a couple of old air conditioning units taken apart, and I think the Goodwill plate and pan there, some LED lights, and a busted up gum machine. And for a while, my husband is a really great guy who didn't mind that I parked my rover where he normally parks his car. We were the most popular house in the neighborhood as long as I had the Mars rover there. Now, currently, it is at a high school near where I live at Merrill Hyde Magnet, where their award-winning robotics team is trying to figure out the best way to make it move so that this fall, when I'm going out doing presentations, that I can literally take my Mars rover with me. So amazing what you can do. This is here. We are fooling around with some green screen and a puppet and me on the Martian landscape. So a couple of nickels, a little bit of duct tape, aluminum foil. It seems to work for NASA, so that's what we do at Janet's Planet. And another example of how art and science collides is another Nashville-based high school, Maplewood, actually did a wonderful project-based learning project all about Mars and paraterraforming. But they also wanted to include some art concepts. So their theater department painted their set, and then Amanda Valentine of Project Runway fame is also a Nashvilleian. She came and helped them create what they could envision an astronaut wardrobe to look like, complete with a dosimeter to measure radiation. And again, these are incredible partnerships in ways that art and science come. They're learning the real world science while at the same time exercising those right brain activities. Now, often too, it's like if you've never read There's Nothing to Do on Mars by Chris Gall, it's incredible. Again, something that I used for elementary age kids. And after, they may draw a picture, but this is usually a good time for us to write a science song. So I am from Nashville, so this I wrote with a group of third graders from Julia Green Elementary, and it goes a little something like this. I'm gonna go to Mars someday, ride my rover, play all day, and dream about home 57 million miles away. I'll dodge meteorites and radiation, nobody'll doubt my dedication, it'll be quite the education when I go to Mars someday. Yeehaw. So, Taylor Swift and Blake Shelton have not exactly come calling, but by the time that we end and re-record it and all the kids go home with an MP3, it's like we've won a Grammy. And truly, there's a lot more where this came from. Last fall, I gave a TEDx talk, and we danced the life cycle of a star, and I'll do that sometimes with kids, and quite honestly, there isn't a kid alive who doesn't like going supernova. And whether you ask them to dance or sing or write or make a film, it really is such an important entry point. And out of their art and their experience, wonder is created. And I personally believe that we must instill wonder upon every interaction. When a student realizes that the probability and possibilities lie far beyond her desktop or their hometown, I believe that's when awe takes place. And I do my best to make sure that I honor whatever is bubbling up in a student. This young man that you see at the top was a kid in a science camp I taught in Trinidad last summer. His name is Hayden. He's 10 years old. And it didn't matter whether we were near a window or we were outside. We were on the grounds of the Trinidadian and Tobago Civil Aviation Authority. So a plane would land, and he would go, Auntie Janet, there's a 747-830, or, oh, did you see that citation CJ4? Now, it was Greek to me, but to Mr. Hayden, it was life. So I began saluting him. Good morning, my pilot. Hello there, Captain. We'll see you tomorrow, Pilot Hayden. By day 4, he came up to me and goes, Auntie Janet, I really like it when you call me pilot. This little girl below, she heard me say that 12 men had walked on the moon, but no ladies. So the next day, I'm at this same school, and she hands me a paper that says Astronaut World. And at first, I have to say, I didn't really know what she had handed me. I read it several times, and then I got it. She wrote, and I have to read this for you. She wrote about a story, it was called Astronaut World, about a future mission when the people of Earth landed on Mars and a woman named Rizaya took her first bold steps on the Martian surface. And it dawned on me, I think she had a moment of wonder, and she used her art, her storytelling, to envision herself in the future. Now, Socrates says wonder is the beginning of wisdom. And we have the power as educators and scientists and people who care about this to instill wonder and encourage our students to stand in their inherent magnificence. Because remember, part of the real equation here, it's relational. And educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all, says Aristotle. So why don't we? Let's encourage our students to create and innovate and find their art alongside their science. Let's create experiences that lead to wonder. And then we must use our words like Miss Yarbrough did for me, and let our love be the brick and mortar foundation that they build their future lives upon. So to produce real awe, science must be experiential. Because once you have an experience with something, in this case via art and wonder, then you add a little bit of relationship, you begin to care about it, you sprinkle in some inspiration, and voila, that equals engagement, everybody. And so we must give them an experience. Now, this is my friend, Dr. Jim Rice. I don't know if some of you guys know him. He's Skyping here with a group of students in Kentucky. And it's an incredible story, and he's explaining his work on spirit and opportunity and also curiosity. He also tells the students that when he was in high school that he had teachers tell him that he would never work for NASA, he wasn't smart enough, that he should just give up on that as a dream, which proves never listen to the haters, because he is the only member in his family to have his PhD. Has actually been, I think, an astronaut candidate, but enjoys his work very much. And so when the students have an experience, I bring them into the classroom and they can ask a Mars rover scientist about the real science they are doing. All of a sudden, I've got credibility because I got cool friends, and then they have an experience with somebody who's actually doing something in the field of space science. So here's my proposal. In my last moments with you, I'm going to propose what I believe would be, I guess, the best STEAM initiative that we could use to inspire students. And I want to see a mentoring program where scientists and engineers pair with a student with a specific field of interest and commit to 8 to 16 weeks over the course of a school year to reach out, have them shadow, and give them real-world experience into the field. And follow-up is key. We can't just come in and give one presentation. It's like, whew, work here's done. We've got to create relationship. Even now, there's a young man that I committed to about a year and a half ago to help him through. He wants to be an artist and an actor and a writer. He came into my life and I said yes. In the fact, the last 3 or 4 days he's finishing up his research paper and I'm checking to make sure he's doing proper APA formatting. Is it tiresome? Is it a little like one other thing added to my to-do list? Yes, but it is powerful thing for me to go, I'm pouring in what I got with the time I've got into a young man that is certainly most worth it. And oftentimes, I will also try to encourage connection on a deeper level. This young lady has an idea for a low-cost battery. She'd actually been experimenting with it at home. She came to me with this idea, and I was like, I don't know, Rain. I tell you what, I'm going to put you in touch with a scientist. So I call up my friend Dr. David Wood at the Oak Ridge National Laboratories, who works in batteries there, and he sent the most delightful explanation and really went to process with her and kept encouraging her on how to better her experiment. I also had another high school student reach out to me, and they were doing a project, and he wanted to have some answers about propulsion. And while there's a lot I can Google, I thought, let me put you in touch with the guy who knows more about it. So I put him in touch with my friend Mike Latomsky at SpaceX. They exchange emails. And another student had this amazing invention, kind of like using PVC pipe, that was actually quite actionable. If the Shark Tank people could have heard about it, I think they might have took a really hard listen. But so I put him in touch with my friend who has over 30 patents, and Tom and he continue to go back and forth. So this is going to lead me to my most impassioned point today. If we really want to make impact, not just say it because it feels all good and nice to say it, but that we really want to create enough awe to inspire the next generation of space explorers, it's imperative that we mentor. So how many of you, if I ask you right now, are actively mentoring a student? Thank you. Super awesome. If you aren't, I beg of you, you still have a month left to school left, go home, find a student, find a school, find a principal, and say yes. And as an example, I can't ask you to do something I'm not willing to do. Janet's Planet is proud to say that I brought a student and a teacher from Maplewood High School. They're here with me in the audience. They did an incredible award-winning Mars presentation back home, and I thought it a crime if I didn't put my money where my mouth is and say, yes, you guys come. This lady, Ashanti, Ashanti, were you out there? She is a sophomore. I want you to find her and this teacher afterwards and pour your good stuff into them. And so it's so very simple. You give your time, your fabulous self, and your knowledge, and that mentee of yours is going to exceed your wildest imaginations. All because you were willing to give them the experience of touch and taste and thought and process and collaboration and art and science and experiments. And the rewards from this science mentoring are going to net you smiles a mile wide, notes from students that are going to become love songs for your soul when they tell you thank you for what you allowed them to unearth in themselves. When they tell you that what they learned from you will never be forgotten, or when you hear them shouting at the top of their lungs, look at what I did, look, I created that. Then you will know that when you created space for experience, you made room for awe. In creating innovators, the making of young people who will change the world, Tony Wagner says that we must let our young people play. And in the midst of their play is where they may very well find their passion, and in the midst of their passion is where they may very well find their purpose. There's an Antoine Saint-Exupéry quote that says, if you want to teach someone to sail, you don't train them how to build a boat. You compel them to long for the open seas. That longing drives our urge to innovate, and space exploration has the power to do that. And so I think as Human to Mars, as it continues to champion the science and the technology that's going to take us to get there, it has the potential to change the attitude that our culture has of science, engineering, technology, art, and math. Neil deGrasse Tyson says, to make any future that we dreamt up real requires scientists, creative engineers, and technologists to make it happen. If people are not within your midst to dream about tomorrow with the capacity to bring tomorrow into the present, then inspiration and engagement will be found lacking. And the truth is, I spend a lot of time with kindergarten, first, second, third, and fourth graders, and the problem is not the children. They are naturally curious. The challenge is and has been adults. I don't have to do anything special to get kids interested. It's like, hey, let's look at this, let's fly this, let's make a model of this. I don't think I've heard an adult say in a long time, I really need more science. So it's the adults in this planet that need science literacy. And I think we need to be the real fire that ignites that spark in others. So that's why I believe it's imperative that we create space for the dancing of our math and biology, the acting out of our science, the drawing, designing, and illustrating of the world in which we live. We must make it our mission to honor creative thought as the birthplace of every scientific advancement and endeavor that ever has been or ever will be. In and through art, science are sewn the threads of understanding, exposition, and innovation. We must never forsake the discovery potential that is indelible when we give art, wonder, and experience a chance to do its most profound good. Imagine one of those students that you dare mentor, even now or sometime in the very near future, saying loudly and boldly, I am a scientist. I am a Nobel Prize winner. I am a Martian astronaut. And for this and missions to Mars to become reality, we must elevate the awe. Thank you so much.